Today, I chose the topic technical writing, the good, the bad, the ugly, because it's supposed to be a talk around how I started technical writing down to what I'm experiencing now. Majorly, we'll be covering what technical writing is, who is a technical writer, and just what are some of the very popular skills you get to learn about it. So, what is technical writing? Technical writing is a style of writing that involves explaining a concept, process to someone to enable them achieve a task or understand something. So, most of the time, people mistake technical writing for copywriting, they mistake it for academic writing, they mistake it for business writing. But at the end of the day, what stands technical writing out is the fact that when you are able to explain concepts that are very technical to people to understand, right? So, for example, do we have any developers here? Someone that writes code, learning, you don't have to be a pro. So, for example, if you join a company for the first time and you are an intern, software developer, or an intern designer, you need a technical writer, or it's important to have a technical writer or a document that is able to explain some of the company's important terminologies to you, right? That's one of the primary things a technical writer does. For example, in my own case, when I joined AdSign, it's a company that is working against the norm of the current internet. So they built their own internet protocol, they built their own servers, they built everything from scratch. And that puts me in a place where I have to bring myself down and ask the very dumb questions. You know, there's a question someone will ask and you'll be like, who is this kid? Who is this? What kind of question are you asking? But those are the kind of questions you find yourself asking as a technical writer, because as a technical writer, you are supposed to be the dumb one. So developers and every other person are the smart ones. So when it comes to understanding concepts, when it comes to trying out something, even testing, my job title says developer advocacy with AdSign, right? But I do technical writing, I do copywriting, I work with marketing, I even do designs, I attend events and speak at the events. The previous person did very well with developer advocacy. But you figure out that at the end of the day, technical writing and developer advocacy are intertwined, because as a technical writer, you're learning to be able to document for people. As a developer advocate, you are learning to also document for people to understand your company's technology this time around. While on technical writing aspect, you change your job. For example, the previous company I was working with was Sterling Bank, right? And there, the kind of technical writing I was doing there is totally different, like 110% different from what I currently do. Now I work strictly with documentation, marketing. My previous role was API docs, strictly, just API documentation, right? So you see that as a technical writer, you're constantly encouraged to learn, constantly encouraged to grow and be better, because what you're doing at this company is going to change, because different companies use different tech stack. Some companies are using JavaScript and all the flavors that comes with it, right? And then there are companies that are using Flutter. And then there are companies that are using Swift. And then there's Ruby on Rails, there's Rust. So you move from a company that uses Flutter, which is probably what you're comfortable with, and you're joining this next company. Let me say, for example, they don't give you the typical, unfortunately, rejection mail, right? And you eventually get into the company, and then you're learning, you find yourself reading the documentation that is Ruby on Rails. The only thing that saves you at that point is the fact that you already have a basic understanding of programming or reading codes, right? So that's why as a technical writer, your role goes beyond what every other person sees. And I like to tell companies when I see them, when I try to interview or join them, I tell them, you're not supposed to give me timelines, right, to when this documentation will be perfect, because the documentation is never perfect. That's the funny truth. Unlike products. I mean, even products are never perfect. They still need upgrades. If not, lots of the applications we use today won't be getting upgrades. It's the same thing with documentation. because you always have to make it better. You always have to improve it. I've been with the art sign for a year now, and I know we've changed our documentation like 1,000,010 times, and we are currently working on changing it again. Because every day our technology improves, there is a new update, our servers are faster, and these things have to reflect in your documentation, right? So whenever you hear a technical writer, my primary lesson today is the first thing that should come to your mind shouldn't just be you are doing just technical writing. Because trust me, the person is doing way more than technical writing. So a technical writer is just basically someone that does technical writing, right? Work on concepts. The person asks the dumb questions, so every other person on the team don't appear dumb to every other person outside. That's basically what a technical writer does. Next slide, please. So some of the skills I've gained as a technical writer over time is I've learned how to learn fast because, for example, again, at ArtSign currently, is a technology that is very weird, very new. A new protocol, everything is new. We are not building from what Google already has. We're not building from what Microsoft already has. We are building everything from scratch. And that puts me in a place where I am not very technical, right? I was a developer for a while. Yes, I was. But I am not very technical compared to my teammates that have probably been writing code for like 25 years. I have teammates that have been writing code for 35 years. And I wrote code for just like maybe 5 years, on and off. So I can't compare. But guess what? Because I have to document everything the company writes or the company does, it puts me in that place where I have to read. I'm taking courses on IoT, security. I'm reading about new stuff every day. Like, if I don't learn something new, it's a problem. Because I have to catch up. I mean, I'm playing catch up with my teammates, which is never going to happen, but I have to try. So learning fast is one of the things that I've been able to hack. Now, I can easily get a concept, no matter how new or alien it is, I'll be able to figure out a way to understand it. Then asking, there is no shame again. I ask anything. I think like a 5-year-old, and I ask the dumbest questions. I ask questions that, when I ask during stand-up, they're like, Cynthia, are you serious? I'm like, yeah, I'm serious, right? But they've come to understand that that is how I process things. I have to understand it well enough to be able to explain to someone. Imagine having to explain to someone the size of this hall. You can't tell someone the size of the hall from sitting here. You have to be able to walk around and measure and get an understanding of what the hall feels like. You won't compare it to just some other person that just wants to come in, or maybe someone else that just has a business with one side of the hall. But as a technical writer, given that you have to cover everything, you have to be able to understand everything. So you don't compare yourself to anybody on the team because you're in your own league. Right? While every other developer is probably focusing on front end or focusing on back end or cloud, you are doing all of them. Because for you to properly document what your company or your team members are doing, you have to understand or be able to ask the right questions. Imagine meeting your team members and I want to ask them what this variable means, and you don't even know what a variable is. That's a huge problem, right? So you have to be able to understand, to ask the right questions, and be able to learn fast as well. So organizing, I am a pro. I have 1 million tabs open. So that's a scam. I don't know why it's there, but yeah, I try my best. I try my best to organize. I have 1 million tabs open, 1 million windows, and then I have 1 million notes. Today, I am choosing to use my to-do list, and tomorrow I'm using a different list altogether. But one thing is certain, at the end of the day, if you ask me to get any document now, I know where to get it, right? So it's put in a place where you have lots of documents, but you'll be forced to organize or put those things together in a way that you can find it or any other person can find it as well. Then networking. Being a technical writer and a developer advocate, it has put me in a place where I'm able to meet people like every time. Now, aside events like this, which, of course, my social battery has already dropped. Like, lots of people. I don't deal well with lots of people. I think I will remain on Twitter for the most part from now onwards. But yeah, for people that are not very, very maybe social, one of the things you can do is, as a technical writer, you should find a circle of people that are doing the same thing you're doing at your level. I tell people, all of us are not fortunate enough to have mentors. All of us won't be fortunate enough to have, I don't have one. And it's fine. You don't need a mentor. You don't need, what you need at a certain level or at a phase you are is like minds that are doing the same thing you're doing at your level. If you're able to find 3, 5, 10 of those people, you're fine. I started a group last year, a technical writing group, and we were 12. And when we started last year, it was chaotic. We didn't know what we were doing. It was just a bunch of people just living weird and crazy lives. But now I can assure you that more than half of the group have moved abroad, technical writing or developer relations roles. And the other half, we're just vibing and having fun, right? And whenever we meet maybe monthly to just maybe give account of what we are doing or how we've been doing, it's been good, right? So when it comes to networking, attending events is one place. Putting yourself out there on social media is another place. And being able to build a brand for yourself. Building a brand for yourself doesn't mean you have to come on Twitter and give hot takes or play that you're the most intelligent. If you follow me on Twitter, I just want to eat food. That's all I know. Every other thing is just, I'm serious. Every other thing is just primary. You won't see me throwing bans, or you won't see me dragging anybody, or talking about how I'm the smartest this or that. I know who I am. I don't need to tell someone. And I put myself in a place where I believe I am learning every day, right? So it doesn't give me that right to pose as anything. I'm not an expert. Me speaking here today doesn't make me this pro person or this mini god. It puts me in a place where I'm able to convey an idea I have, and one of you tomorrow will be able to stand here and give a talk. This is my first day, first Lagos, right? So as a technical writer, there's a whole lot. You learn fast, you ask, you research, you organize your network, you develop documents. I am better now. When you give me a bunch of documents, I know the first questions I want to ask. I know the most important things to do, to start, because I've done it over time, right? Then maintaining documents is the same thing. I've gained lots of technical skills. I am not a pro developer, but if you give me lines of code, no matter the language, I'll be able to tell you, okay, yeah, maybe I understand one line. Or I can tell you, this is a variable. Yeah, this command, this is what it's going to do, or this is what it should do. Because over time, I've equipped myself with lots of technical skills as well. Then failing, I've learned how to fail, right? Most of the time when we talk about failures, or we don't even talk about failures because we feel it's not should be talked about. But I want to tell you that failing is part of the things you learn, right? I've joined a company that I did not succeed at, and I left. Before they would fire me, I had to fire myself, right? So, and it's not one, it's not two. I've had lots of experiences like that. I've joined a company, and they told me, you know what, Cynthia, you're not doing very well as technical writer for us. Try this. And I went for it, right? So there are going to be those instances where you have to learn it the hard way. But guess what? We always stand like, come on, I'm here, right? So whatever we do, it's very important for us to understand that what matters at the end of the day is your learning. Wherever you were, yesterday is not where you are today. And that's the most important part of your journey here. Next slide, please. Okay, yeah, so we come to the good. I've discussed some of them already. I acquired skills. I have some experience trying every and anything. Better sense of good documentation. I may not write the best documentation, but if I see the good documentation, I know, right? Then I found a niche, a domain, a space for myself, which is very important. Next slide, please. So yeah, one of my very favorite quotes. When you focus on you, you grow. When you focus on shit, shit grows. So what I'll tell you is remove shit from there and put any other thing that you feel is a distraction or is that thing that you pay attention to. And it will make sense to you. In this journey, starting out, being an intermediate, being a pro, what matters is you. My journey doesn't matter to you. What every other person does shouldn't matter to you. What matters to you is, I am this person, I am a technical writer, and I want to grow. And then you put in the work as well. So, in all you do, with the social media, the events, the everything, never pull the focus away from you. You are the major focus. Every other thing is just secondary. I mean, tertiary, if you ask me. Next slide, please. Okay, yeah, the ugly. Um, um, Learning anything new is hard. You will find yourself in places where you need to learn a new technology that is very, very new and alien to you. But you have to learn it. Earlier this year, I didn't know nothing about command line. I hate using the terminal. I hate it. I've always hated it. But I work currently in a space where I can't do without it every day. So I have to I still don't like it, but I have to use it. And I still forget. So what do? I Google. You cannot come and beat me. I'm in my house. So landing your first job. I did technical writing for a very long time before I actually got my first official technical writing job. And like I tell people, I did writing for 2,000 naira per month. I wrote for a blog, 2,000 naira per month. And I was not writing one article. Yeah. You get. So whenever you think about, or whenever you look at some of these very successful speakers you see around, don't think they just woke up and then they are looking all fly. If they open their mouth and tell you, you go query. So writer's block. Like, I can tell you that in the last 6 months, I've not published a personal technical article from me. Check my blogs. I've not published. I've been in a very crazy state. I've not been able to publish. And guess what? I'm not killing myself. Funny enough, I have the articles, but I still feel they are not there yet. I feel my head and my space is not there yet. I'm writing documentation for my team, but a technical article from me has been a big challenge. And I'm still taking it one day at a time. Maybe probably when they fire me from my current job, I'll probably get serious because I have to build my portfolio. So yeah, SAPA is like bosses of it all. So in the midst of learning and trying to grow or trying to pivot into technical writing, you may be broke for a while. But like I said, you may have to work for very, very low prices. Like now, I still take articles. I know people that take articles for like $500, and then there are some that are taking for 1.5 per article. And some are taking 350 per article, and some are taking 100. So start from wherever you are and grow from there. You don't just wake up and say, yeah, but it works for some people that way though, but you shouldn't use whatever happens with all these people to qualify your own journey. So it's very important that you should be particular about defining and deciding that it has to be you. Don't look at any other person's journey. Your journey is what matters most. Then lack of motivation. This has a lot to do with many of them. When some of these things happen, you get demotivated and you don't even want to stress it again. But please, that's where a network of friends or like-minded persons come in. You should find a group of people that are at the same level you can learn with. Next slide, please. So in the midst of the chaos, the bad, the ugly, we move regardless, upon still. Unfortunately, we'll keep moving. Next slide, please. So the bad. Yeah, I don't always apply for jobs, but whenever I apply, I get rejected. And this is no jokes. If I've applied to 300 jobs, I've been rejected for 300 of them. Now you ask me, how do I have the jobs I have? They reach out to me. That's very weird, I know. So you may think I'm very, very, she knows her stuff. It's a lie. If I open my email, you weep for me. I can assure you. Like, It's a compilation of unfortunately, you were very, very, but unfortunately, like the sweet words, it's crazy. These days I call them love letters. I'm like, love letter dropped. Oh, sorry. And I move on, right? So seeing me here doesn't mean I've figured it out. I applied, sometime this year I was feeling fly, and I decided to apply for like 10 jobs at once. I got interviewed for like almost all of them, but guess what? I didn't get offer from all of them as well. All of them, unfortunately. I'm like, yeah, I know. Thank you. You're welcome. It did not pay me because I had a job. I would probably feel worse if I didn't have a job and then I got rejected, even though I was feeling confident in myself. How can you be a technical writer? The summary of everything here is just start. You can't be anything without starting. So the first thing is start. When you start, you learn about what technical writing is, you choose a platform, you share your work, you get feedback, improve and loop. You learn ways to improve your work. So what I want to say here is, while you're thinking of being a technical writer, just start anyways. Write your first article. You're better than someone that writes one article per year, like me. If you write an article every week for 6 months, you'll be better than me that writes an article once in 6 months. Why? Because writing weekly puts you in a place where you improve in your writing, generally. So no matter how good I feel I am, if you're able to consistently write an article as a newbie weekly for 6 months, you meet up with me. You may not meet up with me technically, but you meet up with me when it comes to writing. That's how bad it is. How can you increase your chances of getting hired? You build a resume, you learn some more skills. So when it comes to technical writing, lots of people tailor it down to blog and article writing. But I want to tell you that there's API documentation where we have developers here, right? Developers. You use APIs like on a regs. Have you ever opened a documentation? You want to use maybe a package or you want to use a feature and you open this documentation and then it's a hot mess. It happens 1,010,000 times, right? And it's not going to stop happening as long as we don't have lots of technical writers doing the work. So you have to build a resume. You have to learn some skills, markdown, open source contribution. And when I say open source contribution, you don't have to wait till there's outreachy. There are lots of Nigerian companies, lots of foreign companies that are looking for volunteers or contributors. So you can just reach out to them, tell them, or you find a company. So what I do is this. I find a company that use the tech stack I am familiar with. And I follow up with them. I may not be interested in applying to them, but I follow up with them. And over time, when they have an opportunity, they always reach out. That's how I've gotten all the jobs I've had. Because if I apply via resume or job sites, it just doesn't work. So I follow up with a company I'm interested in. I try to connect with the team members. And on the long run, when they need someone that does something I do, you are one of the first people they reach out to. Because you've probably contributed to their projects before, one way or the other. Right? So for like AdSign, what I used to do for AdSign is when they have a campaign or if they tweet something, I just help them retweet. I reach out to them with feedback from people about people that are using their technology. And when they were ready to hire a technical writer, they reached out to me. Right? And even when I moved from technical writing to developer advocate, they did not want to hire a developer advocate outside to come and start learning the technology. They had me learn on the job. I joined the company as a technical writer, and 3 months after, they're like, hey, you know what? Do developer advocacy. And that was it. There was no preparation. I had never taken a course before then. I was not even looking to do developer advocacy, right? So learn the necessary skills and position yourself to be at the right place. At the right time, too, yeah. So, yeah, find open source projects. I've talked about that. Contribute, show your work. When it comes to showing your work, one of the ways you can do it, for example, if I'm learning Flutter now, if you come to my Twitter timeline, you will know. If I am learning anything around IoT, if you come to my Twitter timeline, you will know. What are we going to find on your own timeline? I mean, it's fine to retweet memes and all of those things. They are very cool, yeah? But doing some of these things puts you in that place where you are ready for opportunities, especially if you're actually putting in the work. Like I said, AdSign reached out to me on Twitter. And there's no other way for them to know I do it, if not by seeing what I do on my timeline. Same thing with the first ever developer job I got. It was a Canadian company, and then the guy reached out to me and said, hey, Cynthia, I've seen you retweet a whole lot of things around Flutter. You've been learning, right? I said, yes. He said that this company he knows, they're hiring a junior developer / intern. Will I be interested? I'm like, I've just been learning for 6 months. He said, give it a shot. You never know. And that was it. That was how I got a job, right? I applied. They gave me a task. I've never done that task before. I had to build a new app. And I had 48 hours. But I did it. And I got in. Something I never believed on my own that I could do. I was able to pull it off using tutorials and Google, of course. But I did it, right? So at the end of the day, I worked with a company, and it was a very good experience for me. So in all you do, show your work. Think of the best ways to show your work. You don't have to be a social media person at the end of the day to get jobs. There are people that are not on social media, but they're still getting jobs. But they don't hide under the table. They actually show their work, right? So please, find ways to do that. Find jobs and apply. There's LinkedIn job, there's Twitter, there's word of mouth. When you do stuff, when you're able to, like for example, I know there was a time this GDG Lagos was looking for volunteers, right, for this event. They needed designers, they needed developers. That's where you volunteer to work, and then you meet people that can call your name behind us without you knowing. When you don't offer to do these things for events or communities or companies like this, you end up putting yourself in a place where you're just there, you're very skilled, but nobody knows you're very skilled. Next slide, please. Yeah, so dear team members, this one is a note to everybody. Developers, technical writers, program managers, co-founders, everybody at all. Please, in the name of God, we are begging you people, when a technical writer joins your team, it's very important that you help them. Don't look at them like they should be able to figure it out. They can't figure it out from the heavens. You should be able to help developers, answer their questions, be able to offer them help, because more than anything, a technical writer is just like a 5-year-old you bring into a company, and then they have to start learning. Some of the technical writers have maybe technical background, right? But no matter what, your tech is your tech. So it's important for developers and program managers, project managers to help technical writers fit into their new roles and be able to execute their own job properly. So when you go back to your companies, you should be able to build better relationships with your technical writer. And when they work on documentation, please take out time to actually look through it and give them feedback. Because, like for example, I can write a documentation based on how much I understand. But if a developer from the company looks at it, they are like, hey, Cynthia, this is not correct. Change this. Hey, Cynthia, developers may not need this line. Take it out. But you won't know that as a technical writer if a developer or someone that knows better doesn't tell you. Next slide. Okay, yeah. So before I round up, I would like to say thank you. And if by any chance you have any questions, anytime at all about technical writing, my DM is always open. I'm always open to answering questions. You just shoot me a DM via I am Cynthia Peter on Twitter. And if you have any questions at all, I can help out by answering.